Department of Justice to go beyond prosecuting just
Hello,
Epstein and
hello.
Ghislaine Maxwell, but they didn't do it.
Hello.
And so it's a fair question to ask today, why now? Why the sudden urgent interest in Jeffrey Epstein? Look, we know why. It's because the Democrats were never interested in transparency or executing justice or protecting the victims of this unspeakable tragedy before. The simple truth is obvious for everybody to see. This is a political exercise for Democrats, and it pains me to say it. I wish that was not the truth, but it is, and it's undeniable.
Of course, Mike Johnson obfuscating any personal responsibility to release these files, saying, oh, this is just a political exercise. Democrats are just so immoral. I can't believe they're making us do this.
That they made these young women go through.
We're live, Axel. Nice to see you.
To try to distract from their failures as a party and to try their best to try to tie President Trump somehow into this wretched scandal. The president had nothing to do with it. He's been very clear, and he has nothing to hide, and that's why he's endorsed the vote today. I suspect this vote will be probably unanimous. But here's the important point that everybody needs to understand. We have been advocates of maximum transparency, but we have also insisted that the victims be carefully protected.
Oh, you mean like when Caroline Leavitt leaked the victim's name in the Jeffrey Epstein emails, like when that happened.
Transparency for the American people, and to do it in a responsible manner. What do we mean by that?
Hello, Terry. Nice to see you. Yes, we are live. If you are joining, there is a vote happening right now on the House floor in the U.S. Capitol to release the Epstein files. Right now, representatives are making their spiels before the vote, but the vote should be coming soon. Pretty historic vote, something that the American people have been waiting for a long time, something that the Trump administration has been promising for a long time.
And encompassed in that. And so it goes to show that the Oversight Committee is doing it in the right way. From the very beginning, we've been insistent that this matter be handled carefully and with the utmost caution and care for the people who...
Axel says that we're going to hear your dad's today about his thoughts. Yes, Lichtman Live will be live tonight at 9 p.m. Eastern. You will hear all my dad's thoughts on this topic.
Democrats are rushing the release of thousands of unsubstantiated documents that may be included in this. They're going to be in the public domain with the passage of this bill. And there are serious deficiencies in the legislation that I have noted at length, and Republicans have to work to address those deficiencies in the Senate if and when this legislation is advanced. I stood before the American public today at our press conference, and I explained in detail the dangers of the discharge petition. We have posted at my website, speaker.gov, a summary. The legal counsel, a small army of lawyers, put this together. I used to be a federal court litigator. Many of my colleagues who've spoken today were. We understand the dangers of how this was haphazardly drawn up. And among them, by the way, Mr. Speaker, before I forget, I seek unanimous consent to enter into...
Hello, Parisian 44. Great to catch you live. Thank you. Trump just insulted the ABC journalist who asked him about the Epstein files during the press conference in the White House. What did he say? I saw a clip earlier of him getting all mad about asking the Saudi crown prince about Khashoggi and about 9/11 and defending the crown prince, but I haven't seen. And I saw him calling a reporter quiet Miss Piggery on Air Force One, which was disgusting, but I haven't heard about this one.
It jeopardizes future federal investigations, and we have national security concerns regarding classified information. We'll put this in the record because we need the legislative record to reflect what is the legislative intent behind this vote. I used to litigate cases. We would litigate federal statutes and whether or not they could survive, and legislative intent is important, and we need...
Why is this guy such a slime ball? Even when he speaks, he just reeks of a slime ball. Looks like a slime ball.
The question is, why didn't we amend it here before we passed it? Because the authors won't allow it. Because under the rules of the House, under a discharge petition, they have to agree to consent for the legislation to be amended, and they're not doing that. So now we rely upon our partners in the other chamber to get that done, and they need to do that. The victims deserve our utmost respect. In fact, they should be saluted for their courage.
Agreed.
And the young women who have not come forward, who are now, some of them are middle-aged women who have not come forward, also deserve our respect, and they deserve to be protected.
Agreed.
Republicans support transparency. We want maximum transparency.
Do you?
Especially when it comes to disclosing the names of anybody who had anything to do with these evils, anybody who conspired with or aided in any way Jeffrey Epstein, they must be brought to justice. We want the bill
Hello,
to be
Ian.
amended so it doesn't, at the same time, violate victim privacy, create new victims, disclose the names of any whistleblower. Or
BS, dude. You are not concerned with. This has got to be some cover play for something else. They keep going on about not disclosing victims and compromising victims. I mean, everybody agrees, so redact their names. And then why did the White House and Caroline Leavitt leak the victim in the Epstein emails if you're all for protecting the victims?
It's time for this to come to light. I expect that this will be a unanimous vote, and it will reflect what I think every member in this chamber, and I'll say this now, at least in recent days, every member of the chamber on the...
Damn, y'all see this woman's diamond ring back here? Holy moly.
But we want to do it in a respectful and
Hello, Khalidi.
and careful manner.
I agree with you, Lenny
so that
J.
we don't subject innocent people to further harm. And that has been the whole thing. I told all my members today...
This is so weird that he keeps going on about protecting the victims' names. It feels sketchy. Mike Johnson is so full of crap. This dude is like head to toe full of crap. It was the same journalist who asked about the murder. Trump insulted her, called her a bad journalist, and said the license should be withdrawn from ABC. God, what an idiot. My voice doesn't sound right. Hold on. Oh, it's... I don't know why it does this. Hello, does that sound better? Test, test, 1, 2. Hello, does that sound better? Test, test. Yes, I think it does. Hi, Sam. Yeah, I got it. Will Trump allow the files that incriminate him? That's an interesting question. I imagine they will have to legally release everything unless there's just some backroom illegal stuff going on. If they redact his name, which they might do, I think people will be able to figure it out. You know, people can use context clues and infer that Trump's name is said redacted name if they do that.
On urgent legislative...
Sam, Epstein files have been with intelligence agencies since 2024. Entire 4 years, no Democratic congressman asked for release. Not did any Democrat. Don't you think the left is being hypocritical? I don't know if hypocritical is the right word. I'm not sure how accurate you are to say no Democrat asked for the release. I feel like Democrats have been pretty clear. Like, I don't know. I don't know how accurate that statement is. Hypocritical? I don't think so, because I don't think I remember there being a general consensus among Democrats not to release it. So I guess that would be hypocritical if they were clamoring not to release it for years and then now clamoring to release it. I think it's just politically advantageous. I mean, let's be honest. It is politically advantageous for them to do this now. Are there politics involved in this? Of course. From both sides. Why didn't they do it during the Biden administration? That's a good question. It wasn't as politically advantageous. But then again, if there was something incriminating, you'd think that they would want to release it to stop Trump running in 2024. Maybe they were scared to do that. I don't know.
This process.
Sky News reports that Trump is afraid of photos taken by Epstein. Trump is surrounded by very young girls. Yeah, that'll be an interesting question, too, is, it's obvious that these two have immense ties to each other. Now, will these files just embarrass Trump and solidify those ties or expand upon those ties? Or will the files actually prove some sort of criminal activity or wrongdoing by Trump? Wrongdoing is too general of a word. The fact that he knew that this was happening, which we already knew through the Epstein emails, and he did nothing about it, that's wrongdoing. Now, will something criminal come out? I think that's the bigger question. I'm skeptical that something criminal will come out. I think mostly it'll be embarrassing for Trump, but we'll see.
That 60-count federal indictment for 1 count in state court.
Ian says, I heard that AG Merrick Garland was such a Boy Scout that he didn't want to be seen as political. That's another thing, is Merrick Garland was a scaredy cat. And he might have feared that if he tried to release the Epstein files, it would backfire on him. And Trump would gain momentum by saying that, look, it's a witch hunt against me. They're trying to release the Epstein files. But you think if they were bad enough, it wouldn't matter what Trump said? But I think that's a fair theory, Ian.
To come out. This is the United States of America. Even the British monarchy wouldn't put up with this. How about the American democracy? How about we say, no way, we're not going to allow this cover-up to go on for 1 day more. And I'm glad the president changed his mind after pulling out all the stops to try to get one of our Republican colleagues to...
Have you thought about regularly covering live news in a live stream like Steve Lookner does? I've gone back and forth on that. As you know, as I've expressed, I don't love politics. I do love being live and interacting with people, and it seems like I can't escape politics. So if I go live, people want to talk about politics. So I'm mulling all that and deciding about all that. Trump might have to resign like Richard Nixon. We'll see. Look, nothing has seemed to touch the Teflon Don. Seems like maybe there's some cracks in his armor from this, but I'm still a little bit skeptical that it'll take him down. Does your dad still like Jimmy Raskin? I think so.
The gentleman from Ohio is recognized, and you do have 90 seconds remaining. Correction.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I yield 30 seconds to the gentleman from Texas.
The gentleman from Texas is recognized.
The Democrat Party, with help from the dishonest media, used the Epstein files not to seek justice from the victims, but to smear President Trump. And it's sickening, quite sickening. The Democrats have used the Epstein files to distract the American people from the wins President Trump and his administration have delivered for the American people for the last 11 months.
What wins?
Republican colleagues on the House Oversight Committee, in coordination with the Justice Department, 65,000 pages of documents are related.
Trump incited an insurrection to stay in office. He will never resign. Yeah, that's what that's sort of the path I'm on, Ian, is like, if an insurrection didn't take him down, I'm not sure what will.
Voting to release the files so that we can move on from this smear campaign the Democrats have manufactured. God bless.
Gentleman's
Donald J.
time is
Trump.
expired.
Manufactured? I mean, it's all in black and white, buddy. His ties to Epstein are not manufactured. They're all right in front of our face.
Reserves. Gentleman from Maryland is recognized.
All right. How much time do I have to close?
You have 2 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And I want to thank all of America.
Also, if you wouldn't mind throwing the stream a like, 23 people watching, but only 6 likes. Appreciate it. Any likes you can give.
Representative Green, all of those who have insisted upon bringing...
During the Epstein survivor press conference today, one survivor claimed that 4 administrations did not release the files: Clinton, Obama, Trump, Biden. That's a fair point, right? And don't forget that the big case against Epstein was under Trump 1. Let's not forget that.
The survivors must be put at the very center of our deliberations, not shunted off to the side, not submerged, not subordinated, but put at the very center. We must hear from the people who themselves were victimized by this nightmare. Now, our colleagues across the aisle seem to want to make this into some sort of partisan contest. I haven't heard so much talk about the
Republicans
Democrats
trying to
since
make
the
it
Democratic
partisan?
National
No.
Convention. And all that we've done here is to say we want to bring the truth forward, along with a bipartisan group. We don't want the Senate monkeying around with this in order to slow things down. We want it passed in the Senate. We want it signed. And before that, if the president is true to his word and he wants to see all of this come to light, he can release it now instead of fighting, kicking, and screaming every step along the way. But I'm glad he's changed his mind, and I hope he maintains the momentum he's got to stick with the vast majority of the American people who want to see that the truth is done here. And while he's at it, the administration could reconsider their terrible policies.
But in the early days when there was an ongoing trial, the files couldn't be released, could they? No, not during the trial, obviously. But, I mean, Jeffrey Epstein killed himself in 2019. I mean, Trump was president for another year after that. I don't know. The legality behind releasing the files might have been questionable at that time. The vote has not happened yet. They're still making their spiels. Limited light.
Doing nothing. Because going after President Trump is an obsession with these guys. Best example is John Brennan testified in front of our committee under oath, said he was not involved with the dossier. Only problem is Tulsi Gabbard declassified a report.
Oh my God, they're still going on about the dossier? What year is it?
Where a CIA official went up to Mr. Brennan and said, we shouldn't include this in the report. And John Brennan's response was, yeah, but doesn't it ring true? Forget the facts, forget the truth, go after Trump, put it in. Same dynamic at work here. We're all for protecting innocent victims. We're all for exposing the bad guys who did bad things. But this is obsession with the...
Are you, Jim Jordan? Are you for exposing all the bad guys that did bad things? Weren't you a wrestling coach at Ohio State where young men were being sexually assaulted? And did you expose the bad guys for doing bad things? My memory serves that you did not.
I yield back.
Gentleman yields back. The question is, will the House suspend the rules and pass the bill H.R. 4405? Those in favor say aye. Those opposed say no. In the opinion of the chair, two-thirds being in the affirmative, the rules are suspended. The bill is passed, and without
Can I request a recorded vote, Mr. Speaker?
The gentleman from Maryland is recognized.
Yeah, I'm requesting a recorded vote.
The gentleman from Maryland has requested a recorded vote. Those favoring a recorded vote will rise. A sufficient number having risen, a recorded vote is ordered. Members will record their votes by electronic device. Pursuant to Clause 9 of Rule 20, this 15-minute vote on the motion to suspend the rules will be followed by 5-minute votes on ordering the previous question on House Resolution 879, adoption of House Resolution 879 if ordered.
I thought I heard one no. That was interesting. I guess we'll know once they record the vote. Yeah, I could have sworn I heard somebody yell out. But maybe that was just something else. I don't know. Here we go. Here's the recorded vote. So far, no no's. No no's. Epstein Gate combines sex, power, money, corruption. It is an embarrassment and is driving MAGA and dividing MAGA. Cognitive decline will prevent Trump from finishing his lame duck term. I'm not convinced that anything will stop Trump from finishing his term. I think if he was a vegetable, they would still have him as president, the Republicans. I agree. It's very visceral, this Epstein stuff. And that's why it seems to have some resonance and seems to have some cracks in his base, because it's just so visceral, I think. So far, no votes. No nays. Should I say that? There have been no nays. No present votes either. Now, they're voting electronically, right? They have these little keypads that they punch in or something. Yeah, you saw this guy over here just do it. He put his key card in here, and then he pressed the green button. It seems like this would be a vote they would just instantly vote on. Like, I don't know what's taking so long. Still 370 haven't voted yet. Clitty says, I was saying this has the potential to flip the scandal key false for Republicans in 28. Possibly. I don't think it's flipped it yet, but look, I mean, there's still a lot that has to come out here, right? Hello, Cohen's. Nice to see you. It's going to pass, Reed. I think it'll probably pass unanimously. There have been 0 nay votes so far, so it's going to pass. Axel Moreno says, wow, we're actually seeing bipartisanship on something major for once. Very good point. Very good point. It's funny, even though the Republicans who were speaking were trying to make it partisan, the vote is bipartisan, there's no doubt. You can see it right on your screen. Yeah, Megyn Kelly, that whole clip of her saying that horrendous stuff about 15-year-olds being barely legal, I mean, that was horrific. I'm going to set a quick... Oh, never mind. Do you suppose Republicans would support impeaching Trump this time if it revealed that he's on it? Like, here's another thing. Look, he's on it, right? The Epstein list. I don't think there's a clear black and white list that just lists people. Like, here are people who sexually abuse minors. This person, that person, this person. I don't expect that to happen. Could I be wrong? Of course. But I don't expect there to be a black and white list of every criminal under Jeffrey Epstein. There's probably tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of documents that within those may implicate certain people. If Trump is implicated in abusing minors, I don't know, dude. They seem to be able to shoo away any scandal with Trump. This will be the hardest one to do if he's actually in there and there's some evidence of a crime. What I think most likely will happen is that we'll get sort of more evidence of the same, close ties with Jeffrey Epstein, proof that he knew what was going on, and I don't think that will bring down Trump. This is going to be the topic of the upcoming live. Yes, tonight, 9 p.m. Eastern, Lichtman Live, with Allan Lichtman talking about this. How can your dad predict 2028 when Musk promotes disinformation, which blew up his 24 prediction? I don't know if he's decided that he's predicting 2028. I think that is part of what he's thinking about right now, taking into consideration what you mentioned. And yeah, he's going to decide whether or not the keys are going to work in 2028 or not. We shall see. Still a long ways away. Don't forget to like the stream. 26 people watching, only 11 likes. Go ahead, throw me a like. That'll help me out a lot. Ian says, I hope the keys survive. I mean, so do I, of course. I'm not super hopeful, but we'll see. Regardless if they survive or not, I still think they're a really interesting way to think about politics. Certainly more interesting than, the regular talking heads, horse race style way of talking about politics. Cohen says, I have to say Republicans are completely pathetic. What a sick joke of a party. I thought this was a Democrat hoax. Yeah, good question. I think Republicans really had their back up against the wall. There was nothing they can do but hold the vote, and then once they held the vote, they can't vote no on it, right? I think they're just praying that, again, it's more of the same, more of just embarrassment for Trump, more about just his close ties with Epstein, which already exists, and I think they're just praying that there's nothing more than that. And they could be right. And if they're right, you know, Trump and MAGA will still keep going pretty strong, I think. But we'll see. Who the hell knows, man? Who the hell knows what's going to happen?
They say you can't put a face on money, yet here I am, where ambitions meet their funding potential. Imagine thousands of
Don't forget to like the stream. 26 people watching, only 11 likes. Go ahead, throw me a like. That'll help me out a lot. Ian says, I hope the keys survive. I mean, so do I, of course. But or not, I still think they're a really interesting way to think about politics. Certainly more interesting than, you know, the regular talking heads, horse race style way of talking about politics. Talking heads, horse race style way of talking about politics. Hello, Suzanne Clark. Nice to see you. Nice to have you here. Still, 267 members have not voted. Seems like a lot, with only 5 minutes left to go. Please watch today's Epstein survivor press conference before the stream tonight. Rep. Green commented on Trump calling her a traitor for siding with the survivors. I saw that, yeah. She seems really ticked off about being called a traitor. I wonder why that's such a soft spot for her. January 6th. Excuse me. Hello, Ms. Nika. If there was something damning about Trump in the files, Biden administration would have definitely used it to go after him. To me, this indicates Trump will come out relatively clean. Yeah, I understand that logic. It may be a little too black and white. Again, maybe Merrick Garland was afraid to seem political and release the files. But I hear that logic. It may be an oversimplification, though. All right, we'll be right back. Okay, come on in. Suzanne says, by that logic, Trump would release it. That's a good thing too. Yeah, that's a fair point too. If it totally exonerated him, right? Like, why wouldn't he have just released it ASAP as soon as he got into office? And why was there this big song and dance? That's fair too. Jimbo says, I agree with your dad's take on the shutdown. I know it was frustrating for a lot of us waiting, wanting a fight, but our friend on Snap to know when to put real people in the middle of these fights. I get that. I get that. If Merrick Garland had gone after Trump just after January 6th, Trump would not be president today. I agree with that. If they would have rightfully gone after Trump after January 6th, I don't think he would have been president. But they were scared. And that makes me think that, they were also scared about Epstein and, But who knows, dude? I don't know. Garland waited 22 months to appoint Jack Smith. Exactly. 27 seconds. Still 146 haven't voted. What are they waiting for? I don't know. I don't watch many House votes, so maybe this is typical. I don't know. Angus, hello. Let us hope that this latest vote results brings needed results. I am skeptical, though. What are you skeptical of exactly? Time's up. 127 still haven't voted. Like, what are you waiting for? They're all chatting. What are you waiting for? What's the point when it'll never pass the Senate? You don't think this vote will pass the Senate? I do. I imagine it's harder. This vote would be harder to pass the House than it would the Senate. Angus said, I'm skeptical about the potential documents being heavily redacted. Yeah, I get that, and I think that might happen. Oh, there's one Democrat nay? That has to be a mistake. Yeah, I guess it depends how much they redact it. If, for example, Trump is mentioned, right, and they just redact his name, I think people could figure that out, right? Just context and reasoning, eventually you can figure out that's probably Trump who they redacted there. Now, if Trump is mentioned and they just redact the entire pages he's mentioned in, or the context, you just get these black pages, that might be harder. But also that'll be sketch. I don't know. We'd really have to just wait and see. Yeah, it's definitely going to pass the Senate. My representative is Jamie Raskin. Yeah, Jimbo, I saw that too, a nay on the Democrat side. I sometimes I watch these votes, and sometimes like a nay will pop up, and then it'll go back. I think that might be a mistake, but who knows? I mean, who on the Dem side would vote no to this? I have no idea. Yes, I am lucky to have Jamie Raskin. He is awesome. And when I was living in California, I think it was Schiff. Although I have to double check that, but I'm pretty sure it was Adam Schiff. Wall Street Journal says it's dead in the Senate, and there's no way Trump would sign it even if it passed both. We'll see. I don't understand that logic. The Senate is usually more moderate than the House, especially under a Republican-controlled House, right? I don't get the logic that it's dead in the Senate. And if Trump doesn't sign it, I mean, I guess he could not sign it, but that would be a pretty bad look. Oh, I see the nay changed. It was just a mistake. Can you imagine that Dem? Someone's like, yo, you just voted no. It's like, oh shit. Yes. Yay. Yeah, Raskin's a cool guy. Trump asked the DOJ to go after some Democrats, therefore the DOJ can retain Epstein documents due to an ongoing investigation. That's an interesting point that I haven't thought about. I don't know how real those investigations are, though. The president just saying, do it, and then people in the DOJ just kind of fritzing around. I don't know if that would protect the release of the documents. Now, if there were some sort of charges, that might. I don't know, though. I'm just speculating off the top of my head. I will say this does feel, one nay from Republicans. I guess we'll see if that was a mistake or not. Jimbo says, doubt that's a mistake. When they called the vocal vote, I'm not sure what you call that. I swear I heard something when they said nays, like one little voice ring out when they say all the nays. All the nays, all the nays. Ooh, Angus, you're stuck with Josh Hawley in Missouri. Josh Hawley, that's pretty bad. Pretty bad. $34 people watching. Don't forget to throw me a like if you're watching. Hey Sam, are you and your dad going to talk about Trump demanding Seth Meyers to be fired? Maybe if it becomes more real. I doubt we'll talk about it tonight because there's just so much to talk about. But if he actually gets fired, probably. It's interesting because it seems like Warner Brothers is going to be bought by a joint venture of Comcast and Saudi Arabia, which is kind of scary. NBC is owned by Comcast. So Comcast owns Universal and owns NBC and everything under it. And now Comcast wants to buy Warner Brothers that's up for sale. But I don't think they can afford it. So there's like this, the Saudi public fund is backing Comcast to make the purchase. That's the latest news I've heard about it. Which is bad because, look, the more these companies own, the less amount of companies that own the market, right? It just creates monopolies, creates power in the few, and it creates power now in a foreign entity of Saudi Arabia in our media, which, you know, I don't think that's a good thing. Jamal Khashoggi, yes. And today, in the White House, Trump backed Mohammed bin Salman and defended him against the allegations, although there's I don't even know if you call them allegations that the Saudi government killed Jamal Khashoggi, which is pretty insane. Like, who would think you would see the day when an American president would be like, journalist killed? Let me defend the dictator who might have done it. That's crazy. Hey guys, the time's up. Let's get those last 7 votes in. How do you think midterms will go? There's so much time between now and the midterms. It's hard to say. I mean, we'll see what these releases alone could change the midterms. You know, we'll see. Yeah. Okay. See ya. Things are going south for Republicans, there's no doubt. And if things continue on that trend or get worse, I think midterms, Republicans are in trouble in the midterms. But the Senate's going to be very hard to turn blue, from what I remember. I looked a couple months ago, or maybe even, yeah. And the Senate, no matter what, is going to be very hard to turn blue. But we'll see. Anything is possible, right? In the words of the great Kevin Garnett, anything is possible! Parisian 44 says, FBI investigated and found that Khashoggi was killed by the Saudis. Trump always believes dictators, not U.S. intelligence. Let's preach. Yeah, we will. I guess we will find out soon who the nay vote was. When will all of these Epstein files be released? That's a great question. I have no idea. That's another thing that could happen. There's so many things that could happen from here, right? Like, they could be heavily redacted. You know, Trump could say we're investigating Bill Clinton, so we can't release them. Trump could not sign it. They could drag their feet and wait, you know, months and months and months to release it. I mean, you know, this is one step, but there's still so many different things that could happen after this step, right?
On this vote, the yeas are 427, the nays are 1. 2/3 being in the affirmative, the rules are suspended, the bill is passed, and without objection, the motion to reconsider is laid on the table.
Damn, they hit us with an ad right on that. Okay, there we go, folks. Officially, the vote to release the Epstein files has officially passed the House of Representatives. It's pretty big. You know, like I just said, there's still a lot that needs to happen after this. But this is a pretty big step. There's no doubt about that.
Pursuant to Clause 8, Rule 20, the unfinished business is the vote on ordering the previous question on House Resolution 879, on which the yeas and nays are ordered. The clerk will report the title of the resolution.
House Calendar Number 47, House Resolution 879. Resolution providing for consideration of the joint resolution, Senate Joint Resolution 80, providing for congressional disapproval under Chapter 8 of Title 5 United States Code of the rules submitted by
Man, they're not even listening to her. They're all talking in the background.
National Petroleum Reserve in Alaska, Integrated Activity Plan Record of Decision, providing for consideration of the joint resolution, House Joint Resolution 130, providing for congressional disapproval under Chapter 8 of Title 5 United States Code.
So this is a new bill about drilling in Alaska?
Buffalo Field office record of decision and approved resource management plan amendment, providing for consideration of the joint resolution, House Joint Resolution 131, providing for congressional disapproval under Chapter 8 of Title 5 United States Code of the rules submitted by the Bureau of Land Management relating to Coastal Plain Oil and Gas Leasing Program record of decision, providing for consideration of the concurrent resolution, House Concurrent Resolution 58, denouncing the horrors of socialism, providing for consideration of the bill, H.R. 1949, to repeal restrictions on the export
The horrors of socialism?
natural gas, providing for consideration of the bill, H.R. 3109, to require the Secretary of Energy to direct the National Petroleum Council to issue a report with respect to the petrochemical refineries in the United States and for other purposes, providing for consideration of the bill, H.R. 5107, to repeal the Comprehensive Policing and Justice Reform Amendment Act of 2022, enacted by the District of Columbia Council, providing for consideration of the bill, H.R. 5214, to require mandatory pretrial and post-conviction detention for crimes of violence.
Is this part of the bill, or is this a different bill?
Mandatory cash bail for certain offenses that pose a threat to the public safety or order in the District of Columbia, and for other purposes,
The question is on order in the previous question. Members will record their vote by electronic device.
So this is a separate vote.
5-minute vote.
Well, there was a lot in that. Drilling in Alaska, caught that. Coastal oil drilling, I guess, generally across the coast. Some sort of position to highlight the horrors of socialism, which is a strange way to put it. Because you can certainly highlight the horrors of communism for sure. The horrors of socialism is a little bit strange way to put it. But of course, his administration is doing that because they want to say that, you know, a candidate like Mamdani is part of these horrors of socialism, which are probably just horrors of communism, authoritarian communism, right? What else was in there? Those are the two main things that I heard. I think it's going to be a pretty clear vote. All the Dems are going to say no to this. All the Republicans are going to say yes, although there's already one nay. Has anybody found out who the one nay vote was on the Epstein vote? The one nay vote was Clay Higgins. Clay Higgins. Oh, this guy? The guy who wanted to fight the, is this the guy who wanted to fight the Teamster? So 6 minutes ago, he tweeted, damn. I have been a principled no on this bill from the beginning. What was wrong with the bill 3 months ago is still wrong today. It abandons 250 years of criminal justice procedure in America. As written, this bill reveals and injures thousands of innocent people. Witnesses, people who provide alibis, family members, etc. Does it? If enacted in its current form, this type of broad reveal of criminal investigative files released to a rabid media will absolutely result in innocent people being hurt. But the innocent people, the victims, want this released. So, like, even if this was true, right, and you're saying, like, the victims will be hurt, the victims are out there saying, hey, we want this released. Not by my vote. The Oversight Committee is conducting a thorough investigation that has already released well over 60,000 pages of documents from the Epstein case. That effort will continue in a manner that provides all due protections for innocent Americans. If the Senate amends the bill to properly address privacy of victims and other Americans who are named but not criminally implicated, then I will vote for that bill when it comes back to the House. All right, that's the statement from the one Representative Clay Higgins who voted no. I don't know how much of what he's saying, this idea that the bill needs to be amended to properly address privacy of the victims. I don't know if this bill has or doesn't have proper things written into it that properly address privacy of the victims. But again, it seems like the most public victims want this released, right? So the victims themselves are saying, release it. He's saying, I can't because it'll hurt victims, but the victims are saying, release it. Interesting. Ian says, the victims want this released. Exactly. Yeah. So I wonder if anyone in the Senate will use that same line of reasoning to say, to not vote for it. But I don't know. Only one Republican saying no makes me think that it's going to pass the Senate. Now, again, will Trump try to use, his reversal is strange, right? So he could have, here's a theory, right? He could be saying, hey, all right, let's vote. We'll vote on it. Everybody saves face. They vote yes, except for this one guy. And then in the end, they're like, oh, wait, this is procedurally illegal and it compromises too many innocent people. We can't release it. That could happen. In his opening statement, Johnson mentioned the problem, which will be corrected in the Senate. Okay. So it is a legitimate issue, but it will be solved in the Senate. Interesting. That seems like too simple of a solution. Like, oh, it'll just be fixed in the Senate. I don't know. This feels. There's still a really deep air of sketchiness here. The fact that Trump reversed so quickly, the fact that
on this vote, the yeas are 217, the nays are 211. The previous question is ordered. The question is on the adoption of the resolution. Those in favor say aye. Those opposed say no. No. In the opinion of the chair, the ayes have it.
Speaker.
For what purpose does the gentleman from Massachusetts rise?
I ask for a recorded vote.
A recorded vote is requested. Those favoring a recorded vote will rise. A sufficient...
Yeah, this all feels a little too good to be true. It feels like there are still potholes in this that the Trump administration could take advantage of to veer this off course. Smells fishy. Yeah, this doesn't. It feels a little. Yeah, it feels fishy. Feels a little sketchy. I don't know. Namby says they won't do it. I agree. Yeah, it feels like they will eventually find a way to wiggle their way out of this. They've allowed the members of the House to save face. But in the end, will we get the files? That's the question. Will the Trump administration find a way to wiggle out releasing the files? I still think that's fairly likely. They're going to redact terabytes. That is true. When I first was thinking about redaction, I just was thinking, oh, they'll redact Trump's name and we'll all know it's Trump. But they might just send, thousands of pages of just black redactions, and there's nowhere to even pull any context. You might be here for 6 more hours with all these recorded votes. Well, the vote I was interested in hearing about is done, and I have a call at 3:00, so I'm not going to stay for all this.
The countless members of Congress.
Thomas Payne says Thune will block it. There's also language in the bill that says the AG can block evidence related to child abuse, which would be all the evidence. Interesting. Johnson listed the legal problems which will accompany this text to the Senate. Interesting. Yeah, I'm streaming a little bit. Mom? I'm streaming. I don't know. It feels like my instant thought is like, well, if Mike Johnson's going to put it through, certainly Thune will put it through. But you never know. The puppy says release the files. Yeah, he did. The difference here is that if they wiggle out, I think more people will come to seeing it as a cover-up. Here's the thing. If the House never voted on it, or if the House voted on it and they said no, that's like such a clear-cut cover-up, right? But if they can find like a procedural way to not do it, I feel like that'll be at least less visceral of a cover-up, which they prefer.
Is the stronger institution because of Brett Horton's distinguished service here. I wish Brett all the best in his future endeavors, and I tell you, thank you, Brett, for your personal friendship and for your...
I guess they're honoring some guy who is leaving Congress. I don't know. Brett? Or maybe he's a staffer. I don't know who this guy is. Anybody know who this guy is?
Business is the vote on the adoption of House Resolution 879, on which a recorded vote is ordered. The clerk will report the title of the resolution.
Calendar number 47, House Resolution 879. Resolution providing for consideration of the joint resolution, Senate Joint Resolution 80, providing for congressional disapproval under Chapter 8 of Title 5 United States Code of the rules submitted by the Bureau of Land Management relating to National Petroleum Reserve in Alaska Integrated Activity Plan Record of Decision, providing for consideration of the joint resolution, House Joint Resolution 130, providing for congressional disapproval under Chapter 8 of Title 5 United States Code of the rules submitted by the Bureau of Land Management relating to Buffalo Field.
Here's the thing about the Clay Higgins no vote and his logic, though, right? Like, if that was such strong logic, don't you think the Republicans would jump on that? Like, they jump on totally illogical defenses all the time. That's what I don't get. Why he was the only one to vote no and use that logic. It's just a little weird. I don't know. Thank you, Parisian 44, for being here. Yeah. I don't know. I'm just still trying to wrap my mind around all this. And who knows? Maybe none of us have even thought about what they're going to do next or what's going to happen next. You know, you can speculate till the cows come home and then be completely wrong. But it seems odd to me that, like, Johnson is like, hey, there's this major issue with the bill about privacy and victims' names, but let's just pass it. But then one guy's like, no, literally one. And then someone said in the chat that, like, oh, the Senate will just fix those. Maybe I'm overthinking it. I don't know. Thank you, Dennis. Sure.
Where's Dad?
He is at the dermatologist.
Oh, did you feed the dog?
Yes. Is there no food in his bowl?
There is food, but he hasn't eaten it.
Oh.
I just wondered if that was new food or old food.
A little old.
From yesterday?
I'm not sure. Cohen says this entire thing will probably go nowhere. Yeah, I'm still Well, I think this is a big, important step. I'm still not optimistic that we're going to get the Epstein files, to be honest. All right, folks, I got to sign off. I got to take a call. Thank you for all tuning in. Bye.